Hello. So, let's talk about the assassination films. The most widely seen is, of course, the famous Zapruder film, but there were other people there that day with video cameras. There was also Orville Nix. His film begins around the time of the first shots. There was also Marie Muchmore. The most important part of her film is she's got a brief sequence of the Secret Service guy Clint running between the cars. Not much else apart from that. And Charles Bronson has a brief sequence of the assassination. And Malcolm Couch, who was actually part of the motorcade, he was in camera car 3 and he filmed after the shots. And Jack Daniel, who was at the underpass, on the other side of the underpass, and he filmed the car's departure. So, what do the films tell us and how reliable are they? Well, I don't know how many of these films you've seen. If you've seen the Zapruder film, at least. I don't even know if you've heard of any of these other people. But I will link to each of their films in the video description. Because if you do a search for these, there's like hundreds of different versions up on YouTube. People, done their own thing and put commentary over it or whatever. Zoomed in and highlighted bits. So I'll give you something to start with. So, well, Zapruder is the most famous one, and the most hotly debated, I think, most hotly contested. Obviously, you can't deny the fact that Zapruder was there that day and he was filming. Whether the film that we've seen is actually what he recorded or not is another question. At the start of the film, you see he's looking towards the corner that the motorcade is going to come from, and you see 2 police motorcycles come around the corner nice and slowly, and then the film jumps and suddenly the cars are already round the corner, and then it carries on from there. But you have to ask the question, why does the film jump? If Zapruder filmed the motorbikes coming round the corner, and the corner before any traffic came around it, why would he stop filming and then, start again as soon as the cars come around? I don't think he would. So what happened during that moment that was so interesting, that what could possibly have happened is the FBI, whatever, have reviewed this film over and over and over. And the film has got damaged because film used to be like on reels, like like a reel of negatives, didn't it? I think, and it was very fragile, and I think that's what this is, isn't it? So they've viewed it over and over, and this section of the film of the cars coming around the corner has been burnt out. Quite possibly, that's my interpretation of it. So that's why it's missing, because it's So what happened? Well, I've heard that the drivers misjudged the turn and went too wide and probably over the curb, and maybe the crowd had to push back a bit so they didn't get run over, I think that's what it was. And there might possibly have been a shot during that time, like a warning shot. They missed on purpose, or they missed by accident or something, and that would perhaps be the main reason why that piece of film would have been so interesting to the authorities, because something happened apart from the driver nearly running over some of the people. Or maybe it's a conspiracy and they erased it on purpose, they cut it out on purpose, but that bit's missing, and on the surface of it just seems very strange, doesn't it? And then there's the curb people. At the start of the film, you can see this row. It's mostly ladies on the near side curb with their backs to the camera, and they're crowded very close together. And the most noticeable thing about them is they're stationary. They hardly move an inch the whole time the camera's on them, and that is very suspicious. They're standing here, you know, you can't see, hands on, some of them hands on hips, they're sort of posed, and they hardly move an inch, or maybe they don't move whatsoever during that whole, you know, the time it takes for the cars to come around the corner. And so some people have been questioning whether these people were really there. Are they fakes? Were they inserted into this video for some reason? Well, there's lots of questions about the curb people. It's entirely possible that they were really there that day, and for whatever reason they didn't move an inch. Everyone else was in the crowd around them, was moving around, they were waving flags, they were jumping up and down, they were just being excited because it was the president. He was there and he was going to drive right past them. But these people just stood there like that, you know. And the cars drive past and they're still stood there like, you know, yeah, whatever, and they haven't moved. I don't know why people would go, you know, why they would go to the trouble of going to stand out there on the street and watch the president drive past and not react at all to him. That is very strange. I suppose, as far-fetched as it's possible they were really there and they were really stood like that. It's also possible that they weren't there, or some of them were there, but most of them weren't, and they were inserted into the video to bulk out the people on the curb. But then that leads to the question, why? And also, is it possible to do that? Well, you know, today you can do anything with films and pictures, and they say the camera doesn't lie, but you can make it lie. You know, you can misinterpret and change and alter and, you know, make it do whatever you want it to do, make the picture say whatever you want it to say, pretty much. And in the 60s, film and photography was a lot more, I can't think of the right word, a lot more, you know, basic compared to what it is today. But I think it was entirely possible that it could be altered, film could be altered. So I think the technology was probably there, you know, to fake these people. But the question is, why? It's just sort of a red herring, isn't it? Unless there's something I'm missing. Why would anybody put people in on the curb? Just, you know, perhaps it's just to lead to more questions, so nobody will ask the right questions. Which, I don't know what that would be. Perhaps the people were hiding something. Perhaps there was a shot as the car came around the corner, and it was either an accidental miss or like some kind of warning shot, and maybe it hit the road in front of where all these people are. So, and you know, assuming a conspiracy, the authorities, you know, whoever tampered with this film, if it's been tampered with, they faked people along the curb to hide it, so that whoever viewed the film would not be able to see, you know, the dink mark in the road from where the bullet had hit it, or you know, something like that, or whatever. But the curb people, weird. So, and also, in the Zapruder film, there's a woman in a red coat and her friend standing on the grass on the far side of the car from where Zapruder is. And I think the position Zapruder shows them to be in his film, they've said that they weren't standing there, because in the film you can see them like a few feet back from the curb on the grass, and they have said that they were actually practically in the road. They were on the curb, practically in the road. They were that close. So it just raises more questions. It's possible they were mistaken. It's also possible that Zapruder's viewpoint he was standing up on a wall, up on the grass on top, as somehow skewed, so they look further back from, on his film, they look further away from the curb than what they really are. I don't know. But it's just more questions. Really, it's questionable. And also, the weird running man. If you see a more complete version of the Zapruder film, some people cut it off after the shots, and but Zapruder did film the car driving away round the corner out of his sight under the bridge, and as the camera goes round, follows the car, behind it, on the grass, you see a weird black shadow of someone running, and if you examine it closely enough, it looks too elongated, and it's hard to say if that's a real person. And it's possible that it was a real person running, and it's just the age of the film and the technology of the day. It just comes out looking really weird in the film, or there really wasn't anybody there running, and that is some kind of fake shadow that's been inserted into the film by whoever's tinkered with it. You can come to your own conclusions, whatever you think. It just looks very strange. And that's it, really. Maybe there's other questionable things, but those are the main things that I picked up on about the Zapruder film. So, in conclusion, it's hard to really know what to say about it. There's just so many questions about the exact contents of the Zapruder film. Perhaps it has been tinkered with. Excuse me. Perhaps it was to hide something. Perhaps it was just to throw up more questions so that people would carry on asking questions, so that there would always be this conspiracy, whether there actually was or not. But if there wasn't a conspiracy, why would they change the film and make, people ask questions? I don't know. Sometimes it's just hard to figure things out. So anyway, the Zapruder film. And Nix. Well, Phil Nix's film is more brief than Zapruder's. It shows mainly the Secret Service guy, Clint. I've forgotten his last name and I haven't written it in my notes, but he's Clint. It shows him. The interesting thing is, it shows Clint he's still running, he's still leaping onto the running board on the back of the car as the car passes the big road sign on the far grass verge, and which throws up more questions about Zapruder's film, because in Zapruder's film, by the time the car drives past that sign, Clint is already on the back of the car, and Mrs. Kennedy has got back down in her seat, and he is, he's sort of laying over the back of the car to protect her. So you can draw whatever conclusions you want to draw about that. Check out the Nix film if you haven't seen it. But it's just an interesting conflict. It could just be to do with the viewpoints, but I'm not so sure. You can see from the Nix film, as the car is driving past that sign, Clint is definitely not on the back of the car yet. So, if the Nix film has not been tampered with, which I don't think it has, and the Zapruder film might possibly have been, it's another thing which they might have altered. Why? I don't know. This whole thing is just, as I said, throws up questions all over the place. And Marie Muchmore, her film is a brief sequence of the headshot. But it also shows the woman in the red coat, which I mentioned before, and her friend, looking at the Muchmore film. She is on the curb where she said she was. She is definitely standing on the curb, as opposed to Zapruder's film, which shows her a few feet back from the curb. So, it verifies these other films, verify what, you know, what people have said, what we know. And Bronson's film is a bit more from a distance. He wasn't on the grass, you know, or the plaza, but it shows the book depository windows prior to the shooting, and also the headshot from a distance. And somebody, I found a video of the Bronson film where somebody has picked up the fact that he filmed the book depository windows prior to the shooting, and somebody zoomed in and highlighted the fact you can see shadows moving across the 6th floor windows. You can see, you know, movement behind more than one of the windows at the same time, which the YouTuber has suggested means that there was definitely a conspiracy, because there was just one person up there. My mind's just gone to pot now. Oswald. If Oswald was up there alone, you would not see movement in like all these windows at the same time. So think what you want about that. But and Couch, Malcolm Couch. He was actually in the motorcade. His film is just of the drive through Dallas, the cars ahead of him, you know, and the crowds and everything, and just sort of that. And then the plaza after the shooting, because he's in camera car 3, you know, he's not really close to the front, so by the time his car drives through the plaza, all hell has broken loose pretty much. The president's car is gone, and there's people running everywhere. And I think the video I've seen of this on YouTube has not highlighted this, but I've seen this somewhere before. Some Couch's film catches Zapruder still filming after the cars have gone. He's not on that wall up there where he was before, but he's still on that grassy bank area, and he's filming some people on the ground. And in Couch's film, you can see a glimpse of that as he, you know, drives past. He's filming around, and you see that. And that's another interesting point. Zapruder did not stop filming after the cast had gone. He got down off the wall and he filmed the aftermath. But why that isn't in the official video that we've seen, who knows? And Jack Daniel, he was on the other side of the underpass of that bridge that the car drives through. So his film is very brief, but it shows the presidential car and, you know, the other cars behind him coming through the underpass, and he pans around really fast and the cars zoom past, and that's it. It just films the brief departure. So perhaps nothing too significant. That's why the Zapruder film is the most talked about and seen as the most significant, because he filmed like the assassination right there in his laps, pretty much, you know. It's just unfortunate that the film appears to have been played with. It's hard to really draw a conclusion about the Zapruder film, other than there's, what percentage can I put on this, as like more than 50% chance, what, 70% chance that the film has been altered. By who and why is open to debate, I suppose. Thanks for watching. I'll be back next time with more about the Kennedy assassination. I hope you found this interesting. I haven't included any stills of or any parts of any of the videos that talked about in this, because I don't actually have, you know, like downloaded versions of them that I can share. So all I can do is link to places on YouTube where other people have shared them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.